Just hours ago, the world witnessed an unprecedented event. Prince William was reportedly left shattered, seen in tears, following a deeply emotional public announcement by Catherine, the Princess of Wales, an event that has irrevocably shaken the foundations of their marriage and the entire royal institution. Welcome to royal drama on a scale no one anticipated. The future queen, typically the epitome of composure and tradition, spoke out with a boldness that left the palace scrambling and the public stunned. What she revealed about the immense pressure being placed upon their young family has left the Prince of Wales devastated, forcing a confrontation with the very establishment he is destined to lead. The morning that changed everything. The scene began just after 7 o'clock in the quiet, gray dawn outside Kensington Palace. An unusual occurrence broke the morning silence. The palace gates, normally reserved for ceremonial movements or official duties, swung open for a solitary figure stepping onto the London street. It was Catherine. There was no entourage, no polished security detail, no rehearsed royal smile. It was simply the Princess of Wales, walking slowly, deliberately toward the gathered press. Her expression was unreadable, her public mask held firmly, but the visible swelling and redness around her eyes hinted at a night spent in anguish. She was not there to perform her duty. She was there to finally speak a truth that had become unbearable. Reporters, startled by the sight of her alone and without preparation, fell silent. The frantic clicking of cameras was the only sound, yet no one dared to shout a question. They sensed the gravity of the moment, a shift in the atmosphere, something heavy and entirely unprecedented. Catherine approached the microphone with a steady gait, yet her hands betrayed a slight tremor. She spoke without notes, without clearing her throat, without waiting for the usual official cues. She simply looked up and delivered the words that instantly brought Britain and the world to a standstill. My silence was killing me more than any scandal ever could. With that single sentence, the royal facade shattered. This was not a carefully vetted royal statement. It was a raw, unfiltered confession. Her voice wavered at first with the weight of her emotion, but then settled into a tone that was soft, heartbreakingly calm, and devastatingly firm. What followed was not about titles or tradition, but about children. It was not about duty, but about damage. Catherine was not speaking to the media. She was speaking, for the very first time, as a mother desperate to protect her 3 young children. As her words echoed through the palace courtyard, the royal world was changed forever because the pain she unveiled next was far deeper than anyone outside the family could have imagined. Catherine's shocking confession, a mother's hidden pain. The princess held absolutely nothing back. The details she shared next transformed front-page headlines into genuine, national heartbreak. Her confession brought an entire nation to the verge of tears. She revealed that Prince George, the future king, had begun asking quiet, heavy questions after public appearances, carrying burdens no 10-year-old should shoulder. "What if I don't want to be king?" he had asked her one evening. She had tried to answer, but how does one explain the concept of having no choice to a child? Princess Charlotte, known for her bright, bold energy and independence, was facing subtle but consistent correction behind the closed doors of the palace. Her confident nature, which had always been celebrated in public, was being deemed inappropriate by senior palace aides. Catherine shared the deeply wounding sentiment. They called her too loud, too opinionated, words that should never be used to shame a young girl finding her voice. And then there was little Louis, the youngest, still trying to navigate a confusing world, who had grown terrified of cameras. Catherine's voice cracked audibly when she described how he would freeze whenever strangers shouted his name in public. "He doesn't understand why strangers are yelling," she choked out. "He thinks he's in trouble." The press and the palace alike saw future monarchs in her children, but Catherine, their mother, saw children slowly losing their authentic selves. Then came the devastating line, delivered quietly but with seismic effect. "They're not being raised. They're being programmed." The assembled crowd was stunned into silence. Seasoned reporters lowered their notebooks. The palace's own PR team was reportedly aghast, dropping their carefully crafted scripts. This was not a tantrum or a rebellion. It was a desperate plea for survival. Catherine detailed how every public smile was now rehearsed, every family outing painstakingly choreographed, and how any natural, spontaneous emotion had been deemed unacceptable within their lives. "No crown is worth a child's peace of mind," she declared, a sentence that rang through the ancient walls of Kensington Palace and struck the heart of every parent watching at home. This was not merely a family reaching a breaking point, it was a corrupting system being exposed. As the world struggled to process the magnitude of her words, one person was watching every moment unfold from the closed-off silence of his private chambers: Prince William. What had been awakened in him would shake the monarchy to its core. The royal facade crumbles. Childhood as a royal performance. As Catherine's voice continued, the truth of the system operating behind the palace walls began to fully unravel. She painted a picture of the royal mechanism that the public had never been allowed to see. Behind every adorable balcony wave, every seemingly candid photo opportunity, and every perfectly timed family appearance, there was a script. These were not just suggested routines, but an exact, rigid program detailing how her children were expected to behave at all times. She stated it unequivocally. From the moment they woke up to the moment they went to sleep, their lives were scheduled, rehearsed, and constantly monitored. Prince George's questions were not isolated incidents. He had stopped playing freely in the gardens, growing visibly anxious when anyone watched him, often pausing mid-activity to ask if he was performing it correctly. The palace environment had cultivated a world where being a child was simply not permitted unless it was visually appealing for the cameras. Even shared family laughter, Catherine tearfully revealed, now felt like a performance. She recounted an attempt to lighten a breakfast moment, playing music while the children danced in their pajamas, only to be corrected by an aide within the hour. "That's not how royals behave in the morning." She spoke of emotional discipline that was coldly disguised as tradition. When Princess Charlotte cried after a long, exhausting public appearance, she was immediately reminded to smile, to remember how the public needed to see her. When Prince Louis showed natural frustration, it was met with cold silence instead of parental comfort. Tears, Catherine stated, were not allowed. Hugs had to be formal. Vulnerability was viewed as weakness. That final line resonated deeply with countless viewers. Many commenting online felt it echoed the very systemic cruelty that had famously broken Princess Diana, a machine designed not for protection or empathy, but for control. Catherine took a measured pause, then looked directly into the cameras and uttered her final, defiant statement on the subject. "I love this family, but I will not let it train my children into silence." For a moment, the courtyard was utterly silent. This was not just emotional, it was revolutionary. No royal, not even Diana, had ever directly challenged the system so completely as a mother from within its structure. But what Catherine had not said, what she did not need to articulate, was how this unrelenting pressure had changed more than her children. It had changed her marriage, and the truth she would reveal next was a painful look at the hidden cost of the crown on her relationship with William. A marriage under pressure. The hidden cost on William.